James. Oh, you don't know what finding you has meant to me.
Oh, I can imagine. And you've no idea what finding this has meant to me. You do know what the Queen of Cups means in an upside-down position? A deceitful, perverse woman, a liar, a cheat, and I'd like some answers now.
Please, you don't understand, sir. They'll kill me if I do.
And I'll kill you if you don't.
But you couldn't. You wouldn't. Not after what we just done.
I certainly wouldn't have killed you before.
Are you ready to get Rogered? Roger Moore, that is. Well, welcome to Trimming the Movie Fat, the podcast.
Did you write that one down?
I have got it written down, yes. So welcome to Trimming the Movie Fat, the podcast where we trim films from franchises that don't belong. I'm Stephen Nicholson.
And I'm Paul Nicholson.
And today we're visiting Q Branch to stock up on gadgets, quips, raised eyebrows and 70s flares as we take on the first four movies in Roger Moore's tenure as Ian Fleming's James Bond. Which movies will survive the chomping crocodiles and metal teeth of Bond villainy? Moore's debut, Live and Let Die, its poorly received follow-up, The Man with the Golden Gun, the blockbusting The Spy Who Loved Me, or the space-bound Moonraker. Keep listening to find out. We'll also share some Bond movie facts, provide an overview of each movie, and share our thoughts on each. Joining us skiing off the cliff face are two Melons, Paul and Davie Melon. How are you both?
Hello,
Not
very well.
Good. And I suppose this is a great time to be recording this episode since it was 60 years ago yesterday, the first Bond movie, Dr. No, was released.
I was speaking to someone today, actually, who went to see Dr. No at the time. It was interesting, yeah.
Oh, really? What did they say about it?
Just said it was brilliant, yeah. Something in the Dominion, I think, maybe.
Oh, really?
Back in 1962.
62, yeah. And I know on Amazon Prime they've released that new documentary. Was it the music of 007?
Mm-hmm.
Any of you watched it yet?
Not yet, no.
No, I don't have Amazon.
Well, we'll all watch it and tell you how good it is, Paul.
Excellent.
Because we're nice.
Same
like
with the £7 a month.
We're nice like that. So let's. So we're talking about the 470s Roger Moore Bond movies today. I'll maybe start with, and we've got two Pauls today. So, Brother Paul will be Brother Paul, and Paul Melon will just be Paul. I think that works. Okay. So we'll go with you, Paul. Do you have a favourite scene from those four movies?
I'd say the opening sequence to The Spy Who Loved Me.
Me too.
I think that parachute jump is just iconic, isn't it?
Yeah. And
the chase over the mountains. And it's closely followed by the opening to Live and Let Die, the funeral scene.
That's good. Yeah. No, I'm with you on The Spy Who Loved Me. I think that's my favourite scene. Just incredible stunt still. What about the rest of you? Davie?
Tough to say. The Man with the Golden Gun, the car chase and that, including a bit where he goes over the broken bridge and twists.
Very good. What about you, Paul? Brother Paul?
I'd probably say, like, similar to you guys about The Spy Who Loved Me. Just that whole bit's just, apparently when it came out in cinema, people cheered because it's just like an amazing stunt and so iconic of that time as well. And so yeah, probably for me, that bit, The Spy Who Loved Me, and then the music comes in and stuff like that. It's just so iconic.
Yeah, and he's obviously an excellent spy, having a Union Jack parachute to blend in. Okay, so that's our favourite scenes from the movies from the 70s there. And let's maybe talk some interesting Bond and general movie facts. So maybe start with you, Brother Paul. Do you have a interesting movie fact to share with us?
I do actually. E.T. and Poltergeist started from the same script because they were done at the same time, 82, and Steven Spielberg was involved in both of them.
Yeah, because it was rumoured. The director of Poltergeist was Tobe Hooper, who done Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's always been rumoured that, and obviously Spielberg produced Poltergeist, but it's always been rumoured that actually Spielberg directed most of Poltergeist. So
I actually watched it last week.
Oh, did you? Still hold up?
I think the special effects are quite good for the time. Maybe not as good as I remembered.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for the time.
Well, let me give you an interesting movie fact. I read the other day that it's estimated Tom Cruise will earn close to $100 million from Top Gun Maverick. Nice work if you can get it.
Not bad.
I know. Davie, what about you?
So in the film Interstellar, Christopher Nolan actually grew like a 500 acres of corn because he learned he could do that after producing Man of Steel, and they then sold the corn for a profit.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay. That is good. So let's move on to some Bond facts. I'll maybe kick us off with this one. So, did you know Live and Let Die holds a record for being the most viewed broadcast film on television in the UK by attracting 23.5 million viewers when it premiered on ITV in January 1980? So, Paul, you're nodding your head. There we go. Impressive stuff. And Davie, have you got a Bond fact?
I don't think so much as a fact as the stunt double in what's it, Live and Let Die, when they were doing the old running over the crocodiles, actually fell in.
That's right. Yeah, when you see
his name's Kananga. That's his name, isn't it? Kananga's. It says that's how they got named Kananga.
Crocodile farm. Yeah, that's right. I know. You actually see the footage. It's like, yeah, it's a great stunt. To be fair,
it's Ross Kananga. I think that was his name, Ross Kananga. Yeah.
Fantastic stunt. Brother Paul, got a Bond fact?
Bond fact, probably. I suppose when Sean Connery initially gave up Bond, and after You Only Live Twice, Timothy Dalton was thought of as a replacement, but he felt he was too young, and obviously, 18 years later, he would end up being Bond in The Living Daylights.
That's right. Yeah. Did I know me and Paul went to see, you know how Roger Moore did a book tour when his autobiography came out? Was it My Word Is My Bond? Was that the name of the autobiography?
He did a tour, but it wasn't for the book. It wasn't for that book. Because that book had come out, I think, 2008. Yeah.
So we
saw him,
see him.
Davie was there as well, wasn't he? You were there, Davie, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what's your recollections of that, guys?
Brilliant, really good.
Remember he said when he was a youngster living in a flat in London, I believe it was, or somewhere around about there, and his landlady had a cat, and one of the actors or something he was sharing with had a snake. And the cat mysteriously disappeared one day. I think it was in the belly of a python.
Nice. It was the thing I took from it. Obviously, a classy guy, and just he could obviously lots of great stories, and he could tell them well. So he certainly wasn't a disappointment in person. He was exactly who you expected. Yeah. So
no, he was really funny and really self-deprecating as well.
Mm-hmm.
But was it the funny bit? He says, I was a bit, after doing this tour around the UK, I think he said something like, I was a bit apprehensive about coming here because of the other amazing person from Edinburgh, Sir Walter Scott.
Yeah.
It was just quite funny.
I've got a bit of Bond trivia, actually.
Oh my God. Let's go.
It just came to me in a flash.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. Yeah.
So the number of villains who have bit the dust in Bond movies is 405.
Wow.
Really?
Pierce Brosnan is the deadliest Bond by far, notching 135 kills in 4 film appearances. And Moore as the man with the golden gun was the most peaceful flick with only 1 kill. So there you go.
Oh, really?
Roger must have had the most Bond girls, though. I think he used his golden gun more than the others.
Another bit of trivia that's just come to me here. So the record for romantic encounters in a single film was 4. It's a tie between Tam and You Only Live Twice and Roger Moore, A View to a Kill.
View to a Kill, that's right, yeah.
So there you go.
Go on, Raj. The James Bond series is a set of movies based on a fictional spy created by Ian Fleming over 12 novels and 2 short stories. The series started in 1962 with the Sir Sean Connery starring Dr. No. To date, there have been a further 24 official Bond movies, with the latest being 2021's No Time to Die, starring Daniel Craig in his final outing as 007. The 4 films we're talking about today are from Roger Moore's tenure as Jimmy B, and they are Live and Let Die from 1973 and directed by Guy Hamilton, The Man with the Golden Gun from 1974 and again directed by Guy Hamilton, The Spy Who Loved Me from 1977, directed by Lewis Gilbert, and Moonraker from 1979, again directed by Lewis Gilbert. As of 2022, the current inflation-adjusted box office for the series is approximately $19.2 billion US. The most successful film is 2012's Skyfall. The most successful Roger Moore outing, based on its original gross, was Moonraker.
Three of our agents have been killed during the last 24 hours.
I take it these killings are connected. My name is Bond. James Bond.
Any cost, any Bond must die.
What do you know about a man called Scaramanga, 007?
The man with the golden gun.
Now I know you! You're that secret agent! See, Mr. Bond, like every great artist, I want to create an indisputable masterpiece once in my lifetime. That missing submarine had 16 Polaris missiles aboard.
Take we have a contact in Egypt.
M will give you the details. West Beckish.
We have entered a new era of Anglo-Soviet cooperation. I'm not interested in extortion. I intend to change the face of history.
So does England.
awake, but not stirred.
British agent in love with the Russian agent.
Au revoir, Anya.
Bond, what do you think you're doing?
Keeping the British hand up, sir. Are you suggesting the shuttle was hijacked in midair?
That's for you to find out, 007.
Missed Mr. Bond.
Did I?
Jaws, you obey me!
Steady.
So, Hugo Drax has contacted us from his invisible radio station, Overton Earth. He's saying, get on with it. Okay, here we go, 07.
Everything you've ever loved in a Bond film. More thrills, more excitement, more chills, and more. Roger Moore as James Bond 007 in Live and Let Die. Miss the boat, or you'll miss the most exciting Bond film of all. Live and Let Die.
Yes. You know, Bond girl, very glamorous, Live and Let Die with the late Sir Roger Moore. But he saved your life, and actually that was a very dangerous stunt.
It was a very dangerous stunt. He didn't look like it.
Yeah.
So basically, when we came down, that was a fork truck lift with a nice gentleman, you know, manning it. And we're on the top, coming down to maybe about 8-10 feet. And as we were coming down, he must have pressed the wrong thing, and the whole thing collapsed. And Roger sort of grabbed me by the hair, and I fell with my elbow in a very painful part of his anatomy. What else did I do? No, I mean, the snake. They had the snake right up touching my nose. Ooh, I don't like snakes.
Oh, no, snakes. No. You could have done I'm a Celebrity with a snake.
No, I don't do any of that.
Jane, did you manage to see Roger before he passed away? Did you keep in touch with him? Yeah.
I did. Well, I was at some event, and it was in somewhere in England, somewhere in the country, and I was at Barbara Broccoli's table, and I said, "Oh, is Roger here?" And they said, "Yes, he's being a bit quiet in the house." So I said, "Can I go see him?" He said yes. So I went, and I had 40 minutes to talk to him, and we talked about everything. So there was some sort of unfinished business that he'd done a practical joke on me when I was 20 years old, and what he'd done is we all used to sit there for lunch, and apparently I used to always say, "Oh, please, could you pass me the, please, could you pass me the..." And so one day he thought it'd be very funny if everyone just picked up their trays the minute I came and walked away from me. So
I think that's really cruel.
I was mortified. Mortified.
Well, because he didn't tell you afterwards.
He didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't say, "Oh, we were just kidding." No.
Did he ever apologise?
Pretty much just, maybe a few months before he died, yes.
He
and
said
in
his book,
he wrote it in his book.
Yeah.
He said, "I did a practical joke on Jane, and I'm not sure that she realised it was a joke." And
we were young as well, weren't we?
Oh, I was so young.
Yeah.
I mean, I was, 20 going on 13. That's how young I was.
So
I played a virgin because there weren't any left in that time.
Live and Let Die is one of those Bond films that wider, more casual audiences know of well, along with the likes of Goldfinger, GoldenEye and Casino Royale, I'd say. It helps that the movie has a kick-ass theme song including the title, but beyond that, this film has just really connected with audiences over the years, and it's easy to see why. It's one of Moore's very best films and a really fun time.
So, Live and Let Die was released in 1973, directed by Guy Hamilton, who is previously directed Goldfinger and Diamonds Are Forever. The plot of this is when Bond, played by Roger Moore, investigates the murders of 3 fellow agents, he finds himself a target, evading vicious assassins as he closes in on powerful Kananga, played by Yaphet Kotto. Known on the streets as Mr. Big, Kananga is coordinating a global threat using tons of self-produced heroin. As Bond tries to unravel the mastermind's plan, he meets Solitaire, played by Jane Seymour, a beautiful tarot card reader whose magic is crucial to the crime lord. So Live and Let Die grossed 161.8 million US dollars worldwide on a budget of 7 million. And the gross would be 988 million in 2021 dollars. So its profit multiplier, well, it made 23 times its budget. So a big success. It was the 7th highest grossing movie in North America that year, with The Exorcist being number 1. Today, and adjusted for inflation, Live and Let Die is the 15th highest grossing Bond movie of the 25 officially released Eon productions, just behind Pierce Brosnan's Tomorrow Never Dies and Die Another Day. So critically, the Live and Let Die has a 65% fresh Rotten Tomatoes score. It has 55 out of 100 critic Metascore on IMDb. Audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is 64%, and the audience score on, or audience rating on IMDb is 6.7. So a couple of facts, or one fact, its title song, written by Paul and Linda McCartney and performed by their band Wings, was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Original Song. And in summary, while not one of the highest rated Bond films, Live and Let Die finds Roger Moore adding his stamp to the series with flashes of style and an improved sense of humour. So guys, let's talk a bit about it, and maybe the best place to start is, do you all remember when and where you first seen the movie?
I would imagine that it'll be on BBC One or ITV.
Christmas.
Or Bairn.
Yeah, it was
probably
same
young.
for me.
Primary school or something like that.
Very good. What about you, Brother Paul?
Yeah, probably like the guys probably saw it on TV. It was one of the first ones I've seen, actually, I think.
Yeah.
But I've always had a soft spot for it. It's a great film. And
yeah,
the first pre-title sequence, not to have Bond in it as well at the start.
Oh, let's maybe talk about the pre-title sequence in a second. For me, yeah, I've probably seen it for the first time in the 80s, ITV, more than likely, yeah, either at Christmas or Saturday night or something like that. So yeah, pre-title sequence, Paul, so it doesn't feature Bond. I think that is the first time that happens. I know Doctor Who doesn't have a pre-title, but...
First, and no Q as well.
Yeah. Well, I suppose there's no Bond in From Russia With Love pre-title sequence either, strictly speaking.
Yeah. That's where they got the fake Bond, isn't it?
Yeah. So it is Sean Connery, but it's not meant to be Bond. So Bond's not in this one. What do we all think about the pre-title sequence?
What happens in it again?
That's where it cuts between 3 different scenes. You've got the guy getting murdered at the UN. You have the guy getting killed at the funeral in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And then the guy getting attacked by the snake, the sacrifice ceremony.
Yeah.
What's the name of the country? It's a fictional country. What's it called again? Mozambique.
San Monique, wasn't it?
San Monique, that's it. Mozambique. It sounds similar. Yeah, San Monique.
San Monique. What do we think of it?
I think it's good. It's just different, and I think it
was quite memorable once she actually reminded me of it. The funeral in New Orleans, and the snake charmer bit, and I think it was pretty good actually.
Yeah.
I think it's memorable just for the funeral section.
Yeah,
standing there, the boy stands next to him with a knife, and
Whose
the
funeral
crossing down, pick him up.
Yeah,
start dancing.
Yeah, it is good.
And
I like the last part where the guy, the snake bites him. Now, the guy actually fainted for real. He was that
That's
freaked
right.
out.
Yeah.
The guy actually did faint. That's what's on the film. The guy passing out.
It's great the way the music, it's all builds up. It goes, and then as soon as it bites, it goes, and then the theme comes on. Yeah.
No, that's good. I do prefer my kind of Bond being in the pre-title sequences, and it's the kind of bit of a mini movie to begin with. But yeah, this is good. Something a bit different. And we talked. I mentioned obviously the title song was nominated for an Oscar, and for a lot of people, that's maybe what they remember most about the film. So, what do we think about the theme tune by Paul McCartney and the musical score overall by George Martin? What about you, Davie?
I think it's the second best Bond theme of the entire series, and I like the score as well. It's used quite a lot of the themes for the song as well, so it was really well done actually.
Yeah, everyone in agreement.
Yeah, do you remember when we were at that concert? Was it last year? The Bond music with the singers.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it not the guy talked about? Or was it another concert? He talked about the McCartney nearly bankrupt in the film because the song cost so much to make.
What do we think of it?
I think it's good. It's just different, and I think it
was quite memorable once she actually reminded me of it. The funeral in New Orleans, and the snake charmer bit, and I think it was pretty good actually.
Yeah.
I think it's memorable just for the funeral section. Standing there, the boy stands next to him with a knife, and they crossing down and pick him up. Start dancing.
Yeah, it is good. And I like the last part where the guy, the snake bites him. Now, the guy actually fainted for real. He was that freaked out. Yeah. The guy actually did faint. That's what's on the film. The guy passing out.
It's great the way the music, it's all builds up. It goes, and then as soon as it bites, it goes, and then the theme comes on. Yeah.
No, that's good. I do prefer my kind of Bond being in the pre-title sequences, and it's the kind of bit of a mini movie to begin with. But yeah, this is good. Something a bit different. And we talked. I mentioned obviously the title song was nominated for an Oscar, and for a lot of people, that's maybe what they remember most about the film. So, what do we think about the theme tune by Paul McCartney and the musical score overall by George Martin? What about you, Davie?
I think it's the second best Bond theme of the entire series, and I like the score as well. It's used quite a lot of the themes for the song as well, so it was really well done actually.
Yeah, everyone in agreement.
Yeah, do you remember when we were at that concert? Was it last year? The Bond music with the singers.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it not the guy talked about? Or was it another concert? He talked about the McCartney nearly bankrupt in the film because the song cost so much to make.
I think it's everything but the kitchen sinks in the song, isn't it? Everything you can get into it. Yeah.
I think the famous story with that is the producer Harry Saltzman that played the theme tune for Harry Saltzman. He went, "Yeah, that sounds good. When will we have the finished version?" That is the finished version. Thought it was a demo.
I don't know if that's an urban myth though. I've heard some people say it's maybe not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But anyway, it's...
Yeah, it's one of the best Bond themes for me, and I do like the score for this, although I do think it is dated now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no getting away from it.
I think it's the best Bond theme for me, and the soundtrack's good, but as you say, some of it's dated. I suppose it's that black exploitation era, isn't it? And the music's... Mm-hmm. But like Davie was saying, I like the way the soundtrack uses the Bond, the Live and Let Die theme itself.
Yeah. So what do I think about the movie overall?
I think overall it's good, but I think it does show its age, especially with sort of attitudes and I think nowadays you have to be a bit more careful about some of the things that are on the film.
J.W. Pepper?
Yes.
That's my brother,
maybe that's not
Billy
dated,
Bob will
still
get him.
enough.
Billy Bob will get him.
Still enough.
I don't think it's your brother-in-law, Sheriff. Billy, they don't get him. Billy Bob will get him.
Apologies to the American audience for
I know.
rubbish accents.
Just switched off. I mean, I really enjoy this movie. I like the voodoo stuff in it. It's obviously something that's a bit different for Bond. The boat chase is brilliant. It's always really good. And I know the J.W. Pepper stuff is really 70s, but I do find it really funny. So I think, what is it, after this here, J.W. is, he works for the British government. Which side? I can't remember what the exact words were. On this side.
The hell you doing, boy?
Yeah. And what about
I
Davie?
hereby invested in me, commandeer this vehicle.
What about Davie? What do you think about the plot? Obviously, something a bit different for Bond.
Yeah, so the first thing that really shocked me was like seeing it on the big screen when we were like last month or so. Was how young Roger Moore actually looks in it, and probably because he is, but you look at him like Christ, he only looks about like 22, 23 or something.
He looks
like
good though, doesn't he?
He does. He's like chiseled. He just looks like he would be able to pick up all the women that he does in the film, and he's definitely got one of the best Bond girls going. Jane Seymour's
she's beautiful.
Plays a great part, and she's, as I say, she's beautiful, but she's the part that the chemistry that they've got between them's spot on in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the plot itself, but the drugs plot, I think it still holds up.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a change for James Bond. I mean, there's only so many world domination terrorist attacks that you can go through. So it was nice to have that. I don't think they brought that back in until like was it A View to a Kill? Was it the Timothy Dalton one?
Yeah.
They've kind of steered away from plots about drugs and things like that. But no, I think it was good. And the only thing that really I don't like about it is the end where Kananga explodes and there's no blood. It's just like a big balloon. It's like, what?
And it doesn't look like a balloon
opinion
at all,
of
does
himself.
It's a PG human explosion.
Well, they certainly made up for that in it. Was it A View to a Kill?
Yeah. And what was the highlight? Obviously, as we record this in the UK, with it being the 60th anniversary, some of the cinema chains have been putting all the Bond movies on each week. So I know I got along to see Live and Let Die on the big screen, which was great. You enjoy it, Davie? Seen it on the big screen?
Yeah. See them jump over the crocodiles in the big screen. Was great.
That's good stuff. So let's you mentioned Roger Moore. Obviously, it's his debut. How, Brother Paul, how well do you think he acquits himself here?
He does good because I think what was good about the film was it did something different. It could have just stayed the way it was, but Roger was different as well. And like you say, he looks good in it as well. Because I remember when he got offered the role, he said, "You need to get your hair cut and lose weight." He was doing the Persuaders.
Yeah.
But he looks really good in it, and it's just a different. Because I think if they tried to do it too similar to Sean Connery, it wouldn't have worked. And I think that was the problem with Her Majesty's at the time. Whereas this was really different, and because even in the films, he plays it Roger Moore does it in his own way because he never asks a vodka martini shaken, not stirred. He smokes a cigar as opposed to a cigarette and stuff like that. So yeah, I think he does a really good job. Actually, it's one of my favourite Bond films. Actually,
you agree, Paul?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's my favourite Moore film. I think Spy Who Loved Me is still my favourite one. But I do think he does a good job. I think later on he got a bit more sort of smarmy, a bit more camp. but in the earlier films he was a bit more true to Bond character, a bit hard and a bit sort of rugged, if you like. And I think he was really good in the film.
What about some of the gadgets in this Bond? Has any in particular jump out at you for you guys?
Well, it was just the watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, there's the watch, and there was obviously the gun,
the bullet,
the
inflated,
the magnet thing,
I think the watch. So the magnet, remember, had spun around as well, so it could cut ropes conveniently. Yeah. Any
Same
of you
time tomorrow,
purchased a watch
Mrs.
like
Bell.
that? And anybody purchase a watch that could do that?
I would if there was one available.
That would be great, wouldn't it? There's actually not that many gadgets in this, is there?
Because Q's not in it, is he?
Yeah. Just not that many gadgets at all. So let's talk about the villains. So in this we had the likes, obviously the big, well, no pun intended, Mr. Big, who is also Kananga. We had Whisper, Baron Samedine, Teehee. Any of them jump out at you?
The guy with the metal hook, the metal arm, what was his name?
That's Teehee.
Teehee.
Yeah. He was very charismatic. Yeah, you wouldn't want him holding your hand.
It's quite scary as well because they're massive and mean looking, and with the claw as well. It's like,
how's he got the toilet? That's the thing.
With great, I can answer that with great difficulty.
Same with Edward Scissorhands. How does he?
Don't get the wrong hand.
And with Kananga, is he one of the best Bond villains in your opinion, Brother Paul?
He's not one of the best. He's good, but I wouldn't say he's one of the best. But it's good just because it's different, and because I think the actor was in.
Yaphet
Kotto.
Yeah. I think he just died not that long ago. But I think he's good in it, but I don't think he's one of the best. But I do think he's good.
I think he was better as Alonzo Mosley in Midnight Run.
I was going to say, was he in Midnight Run? Aye.
An Alien.
Aye. So it was. Aye.
Yeah.
I don't think he was like the most standout Bond villain. He said it wasn't as devious as you would expect a Bond villain to be, but he played the part well.
Right. Well, now we'll take our opportunity to rank the movies. So what we're going to do is rank them in terms of top, middle, or bottom. As a Bond movie, where would you put it? And I think we'd probably all agree there's elements to every Bond movie that we like, so nothing is truly awful, but some Bonds are better than others. So where would you put Live and Let Die? So maybe start with you, Brother Paul.
Top.
Davie?
Yep,
top.
Paul?
Probably top 5.
So I'm going to say you're putting that in your top tier. You're putting in your top tier, as am I, which means Live and Let Die is top tier, which is great. So let us move on to the next one.
Darling, forget the jewels. Forget the trinkets. Forget the baubles. 'Cause guess who's coming for Christmas? It's a surprise. It's the man with the golden gun.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
Your reputation precedes you. This way, please. Stay in there, good night. We've got you spotted.
Now for demonstration, boy.
Certainly, sir.
One of the things, of course, anytime you hear about a new James Bond, you always associate some kind of exotic location. And the exotic location, or at least one of them for this film, was Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what sort of circumstances were you working in there?
Uncomfortable ones. We started off in southern Thailand, shooting on a little island. The nearest airport was a town called Phuket, and 2 hours from there was a town called Phang Nga, and 1 hour from Phang Nga by boat was this little island where we shot. Our hotel was in Phang Nga. I say hotel, you know, in loosest terms. I had a room that 1 step down from this room was what they laughingly called the bathroom, which consisted of a hole in the ground with 2 footsteps above it.
The film itself is by far my least favorite James Bond movie, and one of the few that I cannot watch over and over again, so it only gets about a 4 on 10 for me, with it only being saved really by Christopher Lee. Audiences reacted similarly, with many saying that the advertising that went into this was incredibly lackluster, although then again, you can't polish a turd.
So our next movie is 1974's The Man with the Golden Gun, directed again by Guy Hamilton. This is his final Bond movie that he ever directed, and the plot for this one is a cool government operative, James Bond, searches for a stolen invention that can turn the sun's heat into a destructive weapon. He soon crosses paths with the menacing Francisco Scaramanga, played by Christopher Lee, a hitman so skilled he has a 7-figure working fee. Bond then joins forces with the swimsuit-clad Mary Goodnight, played by Britt Ekland, and together they track Scaramanga to a tropical island hideout where the killer for hire lures the slick spy into a deadly maze for a final duel. So the gross of this movie was 97.6 million worldwide on a budget of 7 million. So that is a drop of 40% compared to Live and Let Die. In 2021 dollars, the gross would be 569.8 million. The profit multiplier on this is 14 times its budget, so that's down from Live and Let Die's 23. It was only the 21st highest grossing movie in North America that year, with Blazing Saddles being number 1. To date, and adjusted for inflation, it is the 21st highest grossing Bond movie, ahead of Timothy Dalton's The Living Daylights. And ratings-wise, on Rotten Tomatoes, critically, it's got 39% score. On IMDb, the critic rating is 43 out of 100. Audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is 55%, and on IMDb, 6.7 out of 10. Quick fact for you, John Barry only had 3 weeks to compose the score for this movie, which is not a lot of time at all. And in summary, it's a middling Bond film. The Man with Golden Gun suffers from double entendre-laden dialogue, a noteworthy lack of gadgets, and a villain that overshadows 007. So, again, I'll maybe start, guys. Do you remember when you first seen this movie?
Again, it was probably on STV, around about 8 o'clock, broken up by the news at 10. So I made the film
This
seem
will
longer
begin
than it
after the
actually
news,
was.
yes. This will restart.
Yeah, I remember watching, first time I saw a Bond film in the cinema, I was like, oh, is that it? So like an hour and 40 instead of like 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah, I know. All that breaks. I know I vividly remember seeing this for the first time Christmas Day at my grandparents'.
Yeah, I remember that too.
84
maybe.
As early as that?
Yep.
Okay.
It was one of the highest grossing TV films at the time.
Most watched.
Yeah.
So I remember watching that there and seeing it for the first time at the cinema this year, which was good to see. What about you, Davie?
Yeah, again, probably when I was in primary school, I would imagine, watching it on the telly. It would normally be a Sunday afternoon or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting to see it in the cinema like recently again was brilliant.
Mm-hmm. I'll stick with you, Davey. What do you think of the movie itself?
So when you were talking about being a middling film, was that your opinion of it, was it? Or were you just reading a review?
That was from, I think, Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes, because I honestly think this is one of the best Bond movies for me. I absolutely love it. It's got everything in it. It's got the car chases. It's got the martial arts. It's got John Barry's score again. So moving away from the music, the score that we had in the previous movie, it was getting back to being Bond, but it's still keeping the Lulu theme going throughout the film. The gadgets, the flying car. It's and I really love it. Some great baddies in it. Nick Nack, of course. How could we forget Nick Nack? And Christopher Lee was just a great villain.
Yeah, very charismatic. So, are you guys both in agreement with Davey that it's a great movie?
Yeah, it's a really good film. It's good fun. Like Davey said, a lot of good gadgets, and yeah, it was a really good film.
Okay. Brother Paul, you in agreement?
I don't think it's a great movie. I do have a nostalgic attachment to it because it was probably the first one that I saw, and I like all the funhouse things. And Scaramanga's possibly the best Bond villain, or certainly up there with the best. But it just feels a bit, I don't know. But maybe that's in hindsight when you look at it. It just feels like it's really tired. And of course, that was the last one because I think Cubby Broccoli did this one, and Harry Saltzman did Live and Let Die. But you could just feel, I don't know, it just felt like they were running out of ideas at that point. You can sort of see some of that in the film.
It's funny because I kind of feel, I mean, I still enjoy watching the movie, but for me, it feels like a cheap Bond. It kind of feels small scale and not especially memorable. In fact, the best bit in the movie is when you see the camera crew in the mirror in the belly dancer's dressing room.
Yeah. I've lost my charm.
I know, you can't miss it. It's great when the mirror comes round. And I think the stunt, which you've mentioned already, Davey, where the car goes over the water, the bridge, is fantastic. And there is some really good lines in here, like "Speak now or forever hold your peace." There is some good stuff, but yeah, not one of my favourites, I have to say. So the plot obviously was about an energy crisis.
Quite appropriate for now.
2022 now.
It was ahead of its time.
I know.
How topical is that? Because I would have said to you even last year, oh, that plot is just so dated, isn't it? And here we are. Yeah. Is there anything in particular about the plot that you really enjoy or rubbed you up the wrong way?
It kind of makes, maybe it does it in other films, kind of makes the Bond girls be a bit like silly bimbos in this one, the way they're portrayed.
Well, let's go with that, because I think we had Jane Seymour as Solitaire in the previous movie, who's great. And this one, the main one, is obviously Brick Eklund's Mary Goodnight.
Yeah.
Well, Brother Paul, what do you think about her? You're saying maybe make them out to be bimbos in this movie.
She's almost like a sort of cartoon character in it, Britt Eklund. But I don't know if that's her acting or it's what she was given. And having said that, Maud Adams' character's good in it. So, but it was interesting, that bit. Roger Moore said he would never do that again. When he held her and sort of slapped her, and he said, and it was after that he said, "Look, I'm going to," because I think the director, somebody said to him, "You need to do that. That's what Bond would do." And he said he did it, and he said, "I hated it doing that, like hitting a woman." He said, so from then on, he would never do that again. But,
that did sort of like stick out. watching that in the cinema again, it's like, oof, you wouldn't be able to get away with that these days. I don't think it's a bit. You can't really do that. It was a bit shocking, to be fair. And I think with the J.W. Pepper coming back as well, and just being a little bit racist. I was like,
just slightly.
Yeah, I don't think this would be making the cut if they were to remake that film today. I don't think.
You don't think, in a way, though, they're actually taking the mickey out of characters like him. That's why, obviously, it's not. You wouldn't do that now.
That is a caricature, obviously, but it's a racist caricature. So
yes,
definitely wouldn't say that nowadays.
No.
Yeah. So we think Roger Moore's still solid in this one, although maybe being asked to play against the type of way that ultimately he did that, end up playing Bond, which was more of a, the quips and more of a lover, not a fighter. Yeah. Okay. And of course, the film does have the best gadget that's ever been in a Bond movie. The third nipple.
Titillating, actually.
I thought you might find that titillating. And the golden gun itself is a brilliant gadget. If you want to call it a gadget, it's great, isn't it?
Especially if you're playing GoldenEye on multiplayer.
Yeah. So let's stick with the man who ultimately held the golden gun in the film, which is Scaramanga, Christopher Lee. So, Paul, what do you think of Scaramanga, Christopher Lee's portrayal of him?
I thought it was excellent. I thought it wasn't loud. I thought it was just really understated, but all the more menacing because he's got that sort of face, it's because he's tall as well. He looks sort of imposing, and with the voice, deep down voice as well. It's I thought he was a really good villain.
Yeah, I think we're probably all in agreement on that. I thought he was an excellent villain. Yeah.
I think for the people that are brought up in the generation of playing Dracula, would probably be a bit more scared of him as well. Just seeing him in that role, like find him a bit more intimidating with his horror background. But as Paul says, he's got like a giant stature on camera, and it's very intimidating.
I was just going to say he's got a great presence, hasn't he? Like and he just, it's interesting as well because he actually, although he's like, I suppose, an enemy of Bond, he actually respects Bond, almost sees him as an equal almost. And so it's quite good, that duel they have as well. But he's
Scaramanga cheats.
He does.
Yeah, he cheats. Christopher Lee's. The thing is, he was such an intelligent man as well, wasn't he? Did not speak 8 languages or something like that.
I think more.
He was a spy as well, wasn't he? In the
World
War II.
Ian Fleming's cousin, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, a very charismatic actor, that's for sure. So, the theme song for this was done by Scotland's very own Lulu. So, personally speaking, I think it's one of the weaker Bond themes. It's not one I would rate too highly. I'd still listen to it, wouldn't turn it off. Anyone here especially like it?
Yes, I do.
I like it. Yeah.
Oh, you do, yeah?
Yeah, that's one of in my top list of Bond themes.
Really? What do you like about it?
I just like it. The music, the singing, the way it builds up, and I just like it.
Yeah, is it for the line, he has a powerful weapon?
For weapon.
It's the first double entendre in the film since he sets the ball rolling.
I like the orchestration as well. You've got all the trumpets and all that going on in the background. It's good.
I like the intro because it sort of grabs you by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah.
And that kind of Far East and kind of the melody, the instrumentation. Yeah. And I suppose before Well, maybe stick with the score. So John Barry only had 3 weeks to do the score for this movie, and I think it's one of John Barry's lesser soundtracks. However, lesser John Barry is still better than the best of most soundtrack composers, so it's still a lot of good stuff on it. Where would you rank This Is a Bond soundtrack?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I like it because it uses the theme of the main title constantly throughout it, and going back to the strings, I like it.
Yeah. And before we leave The Man with the Golden Gun, I think it would be rude not to mention Knick Knack.
Perv.
Yeah.
Yes, he was a dirty wee man, apparently.
It was very amorous on set and round in the locations, I believe.
Well, that's what Roger said as well, didn't he? His thing was talking about.
I remember his quote was like he used to like the ladies of the night, and I think Roger said to him, "No, Irv, you can't be doing that all the time." He goes, "Sometimes he don't even take the money."
So did they go up on them?
Poor Knick Knack. Right, so let's now rank The Man with the Golden Gun. So I'll start with you, Brother Paul. Top, middle, or bottom Bond for you?
I would say middle.
Middle for you, okay. I mind you, the club in it's the bottoms up, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Bottoms up club, yeah. So you're going middle though. Paul, what about you?
I would say middle as well.
Davie?
Well, I love Roger Moore. He's my favourite Bond, so I'm going top.
Right, well, I'm going lower, so I suppose that averages out in middle then. So that worked out perfectly.
Can I just say as well, the best bit of music in the film, we played that in Majorca, didn't we, Stephen?
Yeah, it's so. I will maybe add.
Because I had the soundtrack.
Yeah, we'll add it to the recording here. But yeah, what happened is the guy who was security at night at this hotel in Majorca, let's just say we didn't take to him. So one night, really late, we decided to, like snipers, go out onto the balcony of the hotel with the CD player and just keep putting on that,
It's the bit where Roger's with the belly dancer.
Yeah,
in
the movie.
Sorry.
Just kept playing that and flicking bottle tops down towards the pool area. The
In the
guy
dark,
was
so he
going
couldn't see.
mental. He couldn't see where it was coming from, because we were really mature and stuff.
International evil, Steve.
It was. And let me tell you, right? It was hilarious.
The rise of evil Steve.
Yeah,
I don't know why I would take, out of all the things to take on holiday, I take the Man with the Golden Gun CD.
Who takes the Man with the Golden Gun CD to Majorca?
What year was this?
1998.
Yeah.
1998?
It's going to be a banging time, boys. Right, Paul?
Well, we take
Man with the Golden Gun CD.
No, Man with the Golden Gun.
I know.
That's what we need. So,
That's no club anthems, anything, just the Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Getting ready that night. Head out there. Fire on. Knick Knack's theme. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's how we roll. Yeah.
My name is Bond. James Bond. My latest, and if I'm not careful, my last assignment will take me to new heights of adventure, new depths of danger, new dimensions of villainy, and fascinating new women. But every job has its rewards. In this case, it's the spy who loved me.
Don't move.
James, we've only got 3 minutes.
How do you go about preparing for a Bond film? Is it any different from any other role that you study for or prepare for?
Well, having sort of done 3, I don't really have to do much sort of homework on the background of the character, which I did before I did the first one. There are occasional things like in the one before last, in Man with the Golden Gun, I had to do kung fu and karate, and so I had to do a crash course in that, which was very uncomfortable. But on this one, I didn't really have to learn to do anything special apart from riding the wet bike.
What is the toughest thing for you to prepare for in any
Learning
film?
lines.
The film itself, I think, merits a strong 9 in my book. Objectively, it's one of the better Bonds, although I maintain that the first act is a little bit slow. Never mind. Audiences absolutely love this film.
It's Why Love Me, released in 1977, directed by Lewis Gilbert, and this was the second Bond movie he directed after 1967's You Only Live Twice. So in this one, in a globe-trotting assignment that has him skiing off the edges of cliffs and driving a car deep underwater, British super spy James Bond unites with sexy Russian agent Anya Amasova, played by Barbara Bach, to defeat megalomaniac shipping magnate Karl Stromberg, played by Kurt Jurgens, who is threatening to destroy New York City with nuclear weapons. Bond's most deadly adversary on the case is Stromberg's henchman Jaws, played by Richard Kiel, a 7-foot giant with terrifying steel teeth. So the gross of this movie, a massive hit, it's 185.4 million worldwide on a budget of 40 million, almost double the gross of The Man with the Golden Gun. And it would be 844.2 million in 2021 dollars. Profit multiplier on this is it made 13 times its budget, which is almost the same as The Man with the Golden Gun. But bear in mind the budget on this is the same as Live and Let Die and The Man with the Golden Gun combined. It was the 10th highest grossing movie in North America that year, with Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope being number 1. Today, and adjusted for inflation, it is the 8th highest grossing Bond movie, just behind Sean Connery's From Russia with Love. So ratings-wise, critically on Rotten Tomatoes, it's 81%. On IMDb, 55 out of 100. Audience-wise, it is 76% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.0 out of 10 on IMDb. And a fact for this was Roger Moore's favourite of his own Bond movies. And in summary, though it hints at the absurdity to come in later installments, The Spy Who Loved Me's sleek style, menacing villains, and sly wit make it the best of the Roger Moore era. So, The Spy Who Loved Me. Let's start off with, if we can remember when we all first seen this one. Brother Paul, do you remember?
Probably on a Saturday night. I don't know, I just think of ITV on a Saturday night. And it was iconic. It was just one of those, for me, it captures the whole Roger Moore era Bond and all the merchandise and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're right. Paul and Davie, do you remember when you first seen this one?
Yeah, it was ITV, all the sort of Roger Moore ones, the Sean Connery ones were what I watched first time on ITV.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was sat around the telly waiting for the news of 10 to finish, the same as before, and all the adverts and everything else. So yeah, it was on ITV.
Same for you, Davie?
Yeah, yep, exactly the same. I don't think I saw a Bond movie in the cinema until was it 11 Daylight? So everything before that would have been just been watching ITV at some point.
Yeah, same here.
The week after,
probably
the week after I saw the one previous.
So I think for me, I actually do remember vividly first seeing this one because it was on TV in the mid-80s. I was at primary school, and I remember when you went in on the Monday, you had to do a kind of diary in school. And I remember writing about seeing that and drawing the Lotus Turbo Esprit and thinking this is great, and everybody's going, that's a great drawing, until my friend Greg Macaulay, who went on to he was fantastic at art, and I think he went on to do design and stuff. He drew a better one. Curse him. So with this, I think it's maybe the best place to start with this one is the pre-title sequence, which I think three of us said was our favourite from the 70s Bond movies. What makes it so special?
Just I would imagine it's a culmination of the chase through the snowy forest and then jumping off the big mountain with the iconic Union Jack parachute, and then coming into what I believe to be the greatest Bond theme of all time. So that was pretty iconic. I think if you want to see it act out, I would recommend watching Alan Partridge doing it.
Yeah.
Anything more to add on that?
No, it's for me it is the parachute jump that makes it. It's just brilliant. You know, I don't think it's ever been an opening sequence has ever been topped. Actually,
yeah, it feels very much of its time, and I suppose at that year it was the Queen's Silver Jubilee as well, and obviously the Union Jack and all that. So yeah, hard to top that, as you say.
And so let's talk about Roger Moore in the role. Now, he says this was his favourite Bond movie, and for me, this is, I think in this one here, you can tell this is maybe the first one where he's completely comfortable in the Bond role. And I think he really owns it in this movie. And I think they were now being written to his strengths, which, the lover, not a fighter, the light comedy touches. He's also very funny in it there. And I think people maybe argue over what his best Bond performance is, but for me, this is his best performance as Bond. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say so. I think he's got the perfect combination of being sort of a lover and a fighter, because there were certainly scenes where he did have to kick a few bottoms, but it wasn't overly violent. So I think it was just a really good blend of sort of violence and everything else, and the story, and of course the locations in a place like Egypt and was it Istanbul as well? No, Cairo.
Yeah.
And
Ekish.
Yeah, exactly. And the baddies were brilliant. The stages were brilliant as well. Or the boats and the Stromberg's floating fortress, wherever it is. It was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite Bond movies. And I think the thing is, obviously, it was a much bigger budget on this one. They really did go for broke on this, but it feels like it, though. It feels like a big movie. It's iconic, hugely entertaining. As you say, big sets. It's globe-trotting. The stunts are incredible. Good to see another train fight again. I love. I think when you forget that oh, Jaws is in the wardrobe,
Yeah.
which is great. The plot, when you watch it now, do you think, that seems very familiar, this plot?
From 10 years previous.
You know, you only live twice. It's essentially the same plot, but instead of spaceships, it's submarines.
I suppose, yeah. Also, don't forget the Lotus as well, the submarine car.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that was a highlight for me.
And Barbara Bach as well. Let's not forget.
Oh, yes.
And Naomi.
Talented girl.
Yeah.
Remember Naomi?
Very much so.
I don't.
What a handsome
You'd be good for
craft.
Naomi.
What a handsome craft. So well, let's actually stick with Barbara Bach then. So Triple X, right? So her character is arguably the first female in a Bond movie who is Bond's equal. Would you agree?
Yeah.
What about Mary Goodnight in the previous one?
On par with Goodnight from Man with the Golden Gun, yeah.
She's a Russian spy, is she not? So she should be up to speed.
Yeah. But I can imagine at the time that was quite significant, where for the first time, really Bond's teaming up with somebody, and it just so happens to be a woman. So that would be quite a significant change at the time. And what do you think of Barbara Bach's performances, Triple X?
That was okay.
You just like her for other reasons, Paul?
Well, I think of one or two, yeah.
Okay.
I thought she was good. She was good. Not as wooden as some of the other Bond girls.
Yeah. And we mentioned the bad guys are very memorable from this movie. And the Stromberg, do you know, I've seen this movie lots of times, and I've seen it on the big screen at the cinema this year for the first time. And that's the first time I've noticed that Stromberg actually has webbed hands. Did not know that. Yeah.
No.
You never see that on TV.
He said to him, don't shake hands with him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've just never seen it. On the big screen, you could see it, the webbed hands. So Stromberg's the main villain, but the most fun and memorable villain is, of course, Jaws. What makes Jaws such a great villain?
The teeth, the metal teeth.
The licorice teeth, yeah.
Just the fact he looks a bit stupid, but he's actually clever.
Well, he's clever in this movie, at least.
I think also because you see him now from having done the other one as well. That I don't know, it's a different side of him.
So, Davie, I wanted to come back to you, the theme tune. So, Carly Simon's "Nobody Does It Better." Your favourite Bond theme. What makes that better than the rest? Oh,
no pun intended.
Baby, you're the best. Yeah,
definitely. I would say it's definitely the vocals in it. The vocals are absolutely incredible, and like hitting the high notes, getting the proper high notes for a Bond theme. That's what we all look for when we listen to a Bond theme, I think. And she does it. Nobody does it better than her.
It's one of my favourites as well. And well, this isn't any good for anybody who's just listening, but anybody watching the video. I'm now holding up Bond 25, so performed by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Yeah, it's good stuff. And it's one of those albums, right, which I think I ordered back in 2019 or something.
It was supposed to come out last year.
Yeah, so it's been delayed for years, so eventually got it. But yeah, I think we're all fans of the Carly Simon song, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. What gets me is the riff, the piano riff at the start.
Yeah,
just catches
that's
it.
Marvin Hamlish.
Yeah.
Did that.
Yeah.
And good use of that throughout the movie as well, that the piano riff, the motif there as well. The overall soundtrack is very, in a lot of ways, very disco-based, especially the beginning sequence, skiing off the cliff.
Bond 77.
Bond 77, which I love. So no John Barry again, but do we like this soundtrack?
Yes.
You do, Paul?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, what do you like about it?
I like how it sort of drives the action sequences. You know, sort of bang, bang, bang. And I think it accompanies all the action sequences really well.
Yeah.
And when you get the main theme coming through every so often, it's a really clever soundtrack.
Now, Brother Paul, you were shaking your head. You're not a fan.
What?
Having said, yeah, I was thinking that, but there are some of it's really dated. But you know, the bit when he's in Cairo at the pyramids and that sort of music, that's brilliant. That music, you know, you see Jaws' face, then you get that keyboard, do do do. That's like a 70s synthesizer. But also, I like it when Nobody Does Better theme comes on when they're in the wee van as well. And also, I like the cabaret version at the end. You know, nobody does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's quite. But in terms of the other, yeah, I think it's the best soundtrack. But there's good bits in it.
And you get a blast of Lawrence of Arabia while they're walking across the desert too.
Yeah.
Rather randomly, yeah. So let's rank The Spy Who Loved Me then. So I'll kick us off for this one. This would, I'd have this in my top 5 Bond movies of all time. So it's going top tier for me. Paul?
Yeah, same for me. Top tier, I would say number 2.
Oh, Davie?
See, like, for all the times I've seen it, it's not. I can only remember bits and pieces of the actual film, and that's a good one having just seen it. Maybe about 2 months ago. Like, you know, like the start, and all the Jaws and all that, the theme tune, but I don't really recall the whole as a whole. So I would have to say middling.
Not top.
Not top, middle.
Okay. And did I ask you, Brother Paul?
No, I would say top tier.
Top tier. Excellent. Okay, so we just need to get Davie watching it a few more times to correct his error.
Well, now that it's back on Amazon Prime, I'll be giving it another go.
But yeah, all joking aside, obviously watching all the Bond movies this year on the cinema screen, this was one of the ones I really, really enjoyed the most, seeing on the big screen, I'll have to say.
From the most exotic locations on Earth, Moonraker will transport you to another world.
Trifle overpowering your sense.
Holly was a warm girl with the right connections.
Could this possibly be the moment for us to pool our resources?
We would be better off working together.
More excitement, more thrills, more spills. And guess who's dropped in for a bite? Jaws is back. from Earth to the most spectacular adventure in space, Moonraker. It's out of this world.
What exactly are you up to here, Drax? Moonraker 1, liftoff.
Moonraker 2, liftoff.
Moonraker 3, liftoff.
Moonraker 4, liftoff.
What's that?
An entire city in space.
James Bond and the treacherous Dr. Goodhead. Despite your efforts, my finely wrought dream approaches its fulfillment.
Venice is very pleasant to be in. We had, to get permission to shoot in Venice is very difficult because the whole place is sinking. And it's being saved by the British. I mean, the Save the Venice Fund is an English organization because those English people have got flats there and they don't want the place to go under the water. And because they'd been so nice to us in getting permits, Cubby Broccoli, when he says do something, I do it because he is the producer and I'm a very obedient actor. And he said, you've got to go to a cocktail party tonight for the Save the Venice Fund. And so I went along, and I was also with Ken Adam, who was the production designer, art director on that one, and most of the Bonds. And he is Teutonic, and he loves somebody else to be the butt of humor, not him, So. And he always likes to take the mickey out of me. And so I'm standing there, and a lady with white hair came up, and she said, "What are you doing in Venice?" And I said, we're making a film. "Oh, film? What sort of film?" And I said, well, it's a 007, a James Bond film. "Oh, and what do you do?" And Ken is hysterical at this point. I said, well, I sort of try and play James Bond. He said, "Oh. Yes, she said, you'll be very good. I knew Ian Fleming."
What can you say about Moonraker? I'm certainly not going to say it's the best of the Bonds. I think my favorites were probably From Russia with Love and Goldfinger. But I think it's one of the better pictures. And in a world of constant change, it's nice to know things always stay the same in Her Majesty's Secret Service.
What can you say about the Bonds? I'll tell you what I think. I haven't liked a Bond picture ever since Sean Connery left the series. I think Roger Moore, by comparison to Connery, who was exciting and virile, Roger Moore is a piece of wood. He's stiff. He's boring. I don't like to see him.
Listen, you won't get an argument with me. I miss Sean Connery, too. The producers miss Sean Connery. The fans miss Sean Connery. The girlfriends in the movies miss Sean Connery. But what they've done is they've replaced Sean Connery with Roger Moore plus the special effects. They spend twice as much money, and we look at all the gimmicks now in the space stations instead of...
Yeah, but see, even that boat chase that we saw, or the space station to me wasn't as good as the one in Close Encounters, wasn't as good as the one in Star Wars. The boat chase, I've seen that before in other Bond pictures. I think it's a little tired.
I don't think so. I think they put a lot of energy into this picture. It's the most expensive one they ever made. It's certainly like a toy store of gimmicks and things. It's not a thriller like the old ones.
There's something else like gimmicks in the picture that bothers me too. There are a lot of commercial plugs for products. Products are held up to the screen and the film company gets paid for this. In that scene with the man and the woman there, we saw the spray of cologne, Christian Dior cologne, the Bollinger champagne. Later in that scene, he pulls open a drawer, there's a package of Marlboro cigarettes. He crashes through a 7-Up sign, a British Airways sign. There's an ad in that boat sequence at the top of the show for Carlson Boats. I mean, what is this, a magazine or a movie?
You know, I really did begin to catch on when he went through the 7-Up sign and he landed in the Marlboro sign. You know, even I thought that...
It's cute, but there's something very bad here. Every time you see one of those commercial plugs, the movie stops. It's no longer a magic movie, no longer romantic like the old James Bond pictures. It's a commercial enterprise.
Okay, so give me a break, right? This is not Dr. No, this is not From Russia with Love.
It sure isn't.
Okay, it's a way to kill 2.5 hours maybe in the middle of the summer.
I got a better way.
So, Moonraker, released in 1979 and again directed by Lewis Gilbert in his final Bond movie. So the plot of this one has Agent 007 blasting into orbit in this action-packed adventure that takes him to Venice, Rio de Janeiro and outer space. So when Bond investigates the hijacking of an American space shuttle, he and the beautiful CIA agent Holly Goodhead, played by Louise Charles, are soon locked in a life or death struggle against Hugo Drax, played by Michael Lonsdale, a power-mad industrialist whose horrific scheme may destroy all human life on Earth. Sounds like Vladimir Putin. So the gross on this one, it grossed 210.3 million worldwide on a budget of 34 million. So that's a 13% increase on The Spy Who Loved Me. It would be 835.5 million in 2021 dollars. Its profit multiplier, well, it made 6 times its budget, which is almost half that of The Spy Who Loved Me. However, the budget on the first Bond movie, Dr. No, in 1962 was 1.1 million, and here we are. What was the budget? Yeah, and here we are in this one, going up to 34 million. It was the 8th highest grossing movie in North America that year, Superman the movie being number 1. And today, and adjusted for inflation, it is the 9th highest grossing Bond movie, ahead of GoldenEye and just behind The Spy Who Loved Me. Ratings-wise, critically, it's 60% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. On IMDb, it's 66 out of 100. Audience-wise on Rotten Tomatoes, it's at 43%, and on IMDb, 6.2 out of 10. And a fact for it, this became the series' highest-grossing movie until the release of GoldenEye in 1995, and in summary, featuring one of the series' most ludicrous plots, but outfitted with primal gadgets and spectacular sets, Moonraker is both silly and entertaining. So, Moonraker, gentlemen. So, guessing we all first seen this on TV back in the day.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm thinking this would probably be another Christmas Day one. I would expect. Yeah.
Oh, Christmas Day or a Sunday or sometime during the week in the summer or something like that.
On a bank holiday Monday.
Yeah,
bank
holidays,
Monday, yeah. I know. I've seen this for the first time at the cinema this year. Did you go and see it, Davie, on the big screen?
Yeah, yes, yep.
Yeah, and this was one.
I think the special effects looked better on the little screen than they did on the big screen.
I thought the effects held up really well, bar a couple of bits, including the rubber snake.
The snake that you put your don't stop a draft coming in.
Yeah, but this is one of those movies that really should be seen on the big screen. It was obviously a big budget and very much globetrotting as well, so it deserved to be seen on the biggest screen possible. So how do you guys think this stacks up against The Spy Who Loved Me?
I prefer it.
You prefer it?
I know that's probably unpopular, but
what do you prefer?
I don't know, I just like, it's totally over the top and unrealistic, but there's also nostalgia, and I think for me, that was almost like the quintessential Bond film growing up. So, I don't know, I just always preferred it over Moonraker. Over The Spy Who Loved Me.
Oh, really?
I just think it looked a bit forced because obviously they were trying to catch on to Star Wars.
Cashing on that.
Yeah, cashing on that. And it looked a wee bit contrived. I mean, it's not a bad one. I think it's good, but The Spy Who Loved Me, I think, is maybe a wee bit more realistic in its way. And I think it's a better story as well, better villains. I think Drax and Moonraker is a bit more of a caricature.
Okay.
So yeah, I think The Spy Who Loved Me, I think, is a better story. I think it was made better as well.
Talking the story, again, it's really very similar to The Spy Who Loved Me. When you look at the structure of it and the villain and everything, it's very, very similar. It follows the same template. So for you, Davie, is this more memorable than The Spy Who Loved Me?
Yeah, so again, it's got the Jaws element, which always sticks in your mind when you watch that as a young child. It's like, oh, that's a scary baddie. But I think the film's like a great film up until the point where they actually go into space.
Slows it down a wee bit.
Aye, once they get the rocket sent up to fight them, it just appears in a matter of minutes. Like, right, everyone, go and fight this guy in space, and then you just see all that's the bit where the CGI becomes a bit. This is a bit ropey here. But up until that point, I think it's a really good Bond film. It's got some silly things in it, like Josie's love interest, and like, come on. But is this the one where Q just appears out of nowhere in the hotel room, or was that the last one?
License to Kill.
Right. So I'm getting these all confused now. But so the soundtrack was good as well. I don't think it's the best Bond theme out of the ones that I've heard, but it's always enjoyable watching Roger Moore though.
Yeah.
Regardless of the plot.
Yeah, it's got a lot of detractors, this movie, because it is so outlandish and very far removed from Ian Fleming. However, I always have a good time watching it. I always have done. And I just take it for what it is. It's just, it's outlandish, it's mental. But hey, it's fun.
I like where they filmed like Drax's lair in Iguazu Falls in Brazil. And that just, like, I was there many years ago, so I recognised that for the first time, like, on rewatching it, that's like one of the best places I've ever been. That was such a great location.
Yeah.
I'm actually reading Moonraker, the book.
Oh, are you?
It's supposed to be totally different.
It's absolutely nothing like the film. Bear in mind,
the only thing is they've got 50s. The names, but
yeah.
That's about it. Yeah, like.
But it's a bit of a missile launch and things like that. But absolutely nothing like the film.
Yeah.
The thing that always that stood out for me is who's filming in space this like this catching the spacecraft, like, because he's watching it on a screen back and he's there like, how's someone filming this?
CCTV.
CCTV in space in the early 80s.
Let's talk about the pre-title sequence. So we started Spy Who Loved Me with fantastic opening sequence and stunt. How does this compare? Obviously, Bond couldn't be more Bond, falling out of an airplane without a parachute.
Any higher, Mr. Bond in my ears will pop.
I was trying to remember what the opening sequence was. I just remember them taking the shuttle.
Yeah.
Was that it was after the title, wasn't it?
That.
No, that opens with that, and then it cuts to asking Moneypenny, where's Dillison? Oh, he's on his last leg, sir, and it cut to the private plane where Bond's going to the young lady's leg, yes.
Yeah, you got Jaws, the stuntman with his white teeth rather than silver.
Yeah. The stunts are amazing, though, you have to say.
A really well shot scene. The stunt work in that is absolutely incredible. Like, I remember watching it in the cinema, like, because obviously, like, when they cut to like Roger Moore's face, like, oh, come on, that's not really it. But then when it goes to the right and you actually see what's happening, like, they actually done that for real. Like, that's incredible.
Oh, it's impressive. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe not quite up there with Spy Who Loved Me, but it's close. I think it's brilliant.
Yes, how can you top? It's such an impossible thing, isn't it?
I actually think it's better because you have, like 3 or 4 people. You have to coordinate it.
Yeah.
And all the free falling as well, to take the parachutes off. Yeah, it was,
Like anyone can film skiing. Like this is like falling out. Like make sure you throw your parachute once it's out cut. Like make sure you're safe.
Don't drop your parachute.
Do you think the bit that maybe ruined it a wee bit was when obviously Jaws' parachute doesn't work and then he lands in that sort of circus? Do you think that kind of ruins it and then the music comes on? So it's sort of...
Yeah, I do.
I would say so, yeah.
I do, because it's played... It's not really played for laughs up to that point. It's humorous, but that makes it... And, you know, and everybody's in peril, falling from the plane, and then you're kind of making Bond obviously gets the parachute and Jaws is falling, and you then turn it into a joke rather than it being dramatic. So, yeah, I agree. It's a bit of a shame. The gadgets in this one, anything jump out at you?
What the gadgets were?
Or the watch. The watch.
The watch, yeah.
It's always a watch.
That's a little dart thing
with the darts in it. Yeah,
that's right.
Explosive as well. Plastic explosives.
That's right. Yeah, and he's what?
Was that not a magnet?
I do like that bit.
Magnet.
What's that? Sorry.
Must have been a magnet,
so.
surely.
No, I don't think so.
I do think. Yeah, I do like the bit at the start when he goes on that, you know, the velocity thing when he goes round. I think that's really good.
Yeah, that sequence is excellent.
The G-force generator, whatever it is.
I like Bond's line at the start when Q gave him the watch. He says, "Oh, very novel, Q. You must get him in the shop in time for Christmas."
Yeah.
I was saying that one of the things I like about this subterfuge thing, where you obviously you're being tested for how many G's you can handle for gravity as you spin round. The good thing about that is, it's a dramatic sequence, but you'll notice, which is rare for Roger Moore, when he kind of gets out of it, there's no quip
I think
or
he's
anything.
good there. He's good.
Yeah. He's
I
disheveled.
think he plays that part really well.
He does. He's disheveled.
You can
and
see he's
there's no
like
funny
in
line.
shock almost. Yeah.
And in some ways, I wish we had a bit more of that from Roger Moore, because he does play that well. But hey ho.
He sees Chang up at the thing. And he's like, "Right, pal, I'm coming after you now."
They turn all Scottish. "Oh, I'm coming after you, pal. You're dead, man."
I'm going to come to Venice and jib you.
Aye, I'll jib you in Venice, yeah, bass. So let's stick with the villains, actually. So you mentioned Chang. What do we think of Chang?
He's got a sort of Beatles haircut.
Didn't say very much, did he?
Yeah.
Not all that memorable, is he, really?
No,
he's not in it for that much, really, I suppose.
Yeah.
I do like it. He is good when he's turning the speed, and you can see him in his face and he's enjoying it, and that's quite good. That bit.
Yeah.
And then you can see how disappointed he is when it suddenly comes off. He's like a little child.
And obviously we've got Jaws back, which was good. Do they undersell him a bit in this one by making him to become a bit more of a buffoon?
Yeah, it's just more of a parody, isn't he? Not as evil as he was in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
Well, he became a goodie, didn't he? He learned the error of his
That's
ways.
right.
It's got a bit, he achieved redemption.
Yeah.
He could even speak in this one as well.
I'll tell you what, I'd love to know, you kind of hear that him and the girlfriend get picked up as they're floating around Earth. How did they manage to do that? I'd love to know how they managed that.
Don't worry, they'll make it back safely.
I know. And the main villain, of course, was Drax. So I have to say, I'm in the minority here. I think Drax is great. I
think
love
he's good.
I love how droll he is. Look after Mr. Bond. Make sure some harm comes to him.
He's almost quite sarcastic, isn't he? Like, but he's quite camp, but it works, I think. And of course, one of the best bits is he takes him out shooting. He goes, "You missed, did I?"
And boy falls in the tree. That's one of the best bits in a Bond movie ever. I love that. That's great. You missed Mr. Bond, did I?
I spent a little bit of time Googling him to find out if he actually was Peter Dinklage's dad, because he looked the same as his Game of Thrones character. Like, is that Peter Dinklage's dad? I'll Google that when I get out to the cinema. Oh, no, it's not.
I don't know. We haven't talked about the Bond women, so obviously the key one here was Holly Goodhead.
Holly Goodhead.
So was she good for you?
A woman?
I know. A woman. Your powers of observation are very good, Mr. Bond. What do Bond's casual sexism thrown in there? A woman? A woman at NASA? What do we think of Holly Goodhead?
I think she's one of the more forgettable Bond girls for me.
Yeah.
She's nothing special.
No triple X.
I almost feel she tries too hard to be tough, but she comes across almost quite hammy, almost. Like,
What do we think? Oh, I'm thinking of Venice now. And Bond's going along on the gondola, and you have the funeral boat going the other way, and the boy pops up out of the coffin.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good. He gets a knife and just chucks it back at him and gets him.
It's realistic, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Or when he goes into the
speedboat.
Yeah.
When he goes into the glass making place and the woman goes, "Is there anything I can help you with?" And he says, "I'm tempted to say yes immediately."
Yeah, that mirrors the thing from Spy Who Loved Me, where the girl turns up at his hotel door.
Oh,
I have a message for you, Mr. Bond. I think you just delivered it.
I think you just delivered it. That's right. Yeah.
I have to say, I
think
this Bond movie has got one of my favourite lines of all time for the entire
That's
series.
Jill at the door. Give me a second.
No, it wasn't that line.
It wasn't that line.
It wasn't that line.
Was Jill in a Bond film?
That's my favourite Bond line ever. That's Jill at the door. I'm going to get it. Yeah, that's a brilliant line.
And it's the very end with Q. It's like, I think he's attempting re-entry.
Yeah.
I think he's attempting re-entry.
It might just be the best line in a Bond movie ever. Yeah, it's superb. Absolutely brilliant. So let's maybe talk a little bit about the theme tune and the music. So let's talk about Shirley Bassey's song. Start again. Let's talk about Shirley Bassey's theme tune for this, which is Moonraker, and you get the kind of standard version over the main titles, and then credits has a more disco-fied version. What do we think of it?
Yeah, don't like it, I'm afraid. No? Not memorable at all. Yeah, it's not the best.
It's memorable in the way that I remove it from most of my playlists, and I don't think it made my Bond movie playlist if I remember correctly.
Can't remember.
I think it's just too slow. I just find it slow. It takes a while to get going. It's got the high notes at the end, which are good, but just as a Bond theme, it just sort of like it's not got the drive and that you would expect from a Bond theme. It's just too slow for me.
I know it was quickly written. I think they had one good to go and then decided to rewrite it. So I know it was quickly done. Actually, it's one of my favourites. I really, really like it. Although I do like the disco version, which is great. And on this Bond 25 album, there's a really good version of it on there. But yeah, I like it. I know I'm in the minority with that one. Yeah, I think it's kind of spacey and dramatic. It fits in with the movie. And we had John Barry's soundtrack for this one, so he was back. For me, this is one of John Barry's, not only one of John Barry's best Bond soundtracks, but one of his best soundtracks of all time. I think it's great. What about you guys?
Yeah, I've not really paid much attention to it before, so and I can't really remember it from the actual film, seen it in the cinema, so I can't really comment on it, to be fair. I'm sure it's brilliant, but without paying particular attention to it, I couldn't say.
Yeah, superb stuff.
Same for me. I don't really remember it at all, actually.
Do yourself a favour, guys, download it.
Yeah, well, do.
It is absolute top quality, absolute top quality. And of course, in this movie, we bid a sad farewell to M. This was his final, forgetting his name now.
Bernard Lee.
Bernard Lee, sorry, yeah. Bernard Lee.
He was Christopher Lee's brother, wasn't he?
No.
Just being silly.
You being silly when we're talking Moonraker, how dare you? Off to space. It's, yes, that was his last performance. He died, was it cancer?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but
I think he died
knackered on the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame, but he had a big drink problem, didn't he, as well?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think you can actually see him visibly start to ebb away, actually, towards in the last.
But it was still brilliant.
Couple.
It was still brilliant. And it, you know, when they go to Drax, Drax has cleared out his stuff. You know, when they go to the place and it's all, he says, "Oh, this was a laboratory," and they're all wearing masks. So I still think he's brilliant. Apparently, at that.
Okay, it's time to rate Moonraker. So, Brother Paul, I come to you. Is it a top, middle, or bottom movie for you?
Top.
I would also put him a top. Davie?
I'm going middle.
Okay. Paul?
I'm going middle as well.
Middle. Okay. So we're split on that one. Great, we've escaped Dracty's space station and we're attempting re-entry. Before we go though, please come back for our concluding part of the look at Roger Moore's Bond movies. So we still have 3 movies to go, and they are Few Eyes Only, Octopussy, and A View to a Kill. And what we'll do in the concluding episode is we will put those movies into our ranking order. So from our least favourite up to our favourite. Now, before then, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do so by Facebook. You can join our Trimming the Movie Fat Facebook group. Remember to subscribe to the podcast as well. And I think it just leaves me to say thank you to Davie and Paul for joining us this evening.
Thank you, guys.
And we look forward to you rejoining us for the concluding part of the episode. Yeah, so until next time, keep trimming.
Bye.